Hey guys, it's Mr. V over here doing a book review today for The Girl Who Cried Monster by R.L. Stine. This is a classic Goosebumps book from the original 62 book run. This is book number 8. Before I get into my book review, I want you to know that I try to do a spoiler-free book review. So let's get into the book review today for The Girl Who Cried Monster. So the main premise for this book is about a girl named Lucy who loves to tell monster stories. She loves to try to freak out her little brother with monster stories, but she tells them to her friends, she tells it to her parents, and she tells all these monster stories that they know are fake. But the tough part is one day she sees that their librarian is an actual monster. So when she goes and tells her friends and her family, nobody believes her. And the scariest part for her is that the librarian, the monster, knows who she is. So that's the main premise for the book. Now, I felt that this was a pretty weak book overall. It was a pretty weak book because I thought it had a very weak start to the book because it didn't draw me in like some of his other books. It's just something about it just was like a whatever start. It was a week from the start. I was just like, whatever. Now, at least halfway through, it gets a little better. Doesn't get great or anything. It just gets better about like the halfway mark. It got a little better. Because at the halfway mark, the storyline to me became a little more fun. And there was a little more like suspense or wonder at like the halfway mark. But let me stress again, it was by no means great. It was just better than the weak parts. And as I said, like the halfway part especially, it seems to get a little darker, not super dark, and because it wasn't like the spooky type of dark, but it was a little darker, which was kind of cool, and that was one fun element to the book. I'm surprised it was even in a Goosebumps book, but there is some elements to it that was a little crazier for a Goosebumps book. And I also thought like there was an interesting storyline, like plot, like twist kind of thing towards the end of the book. There was one interesting part towards the end, and I can't spoil it. And it's not the end, but it was towards the end. It was like in the final like 5 chapters or so. There was one kind of cool part in that part, and I thought, okay, that was pretty cool. But I would say, a lot of the things I didn't like about the book was that I just thought, again, I said already that it was a pretty weak start, but it was just a pretty weak book. I said there was one cool storyline towards the end, but for the most part, it was just a weak book. Because, I didn't like it much because it was just very repetitive. It was just Lucy saying, oh, she saw a monster. Everyone saying, oh, I don't believe you, I don't believe you. I saw it, and, her trying to figure out how to prove that that librarian is a monster, That part can add some suspense, but for the most part, it was just like repetition. Like every chapter is like, oh, okay, and you kind of wanted the book to end. And I don't think that's ever a good thing for a book. You're kind of just like, oh, whatever. And I also thought that it had like a weak end. There was definitely, there was a plot twist, but I thought it was just kind of weak and it was kind of weird. And, I just thought it was kind of weird, like the ending to where, I got the impression that the author, R.L. Stine, kind of like just didn't know how to end it. To where he just threw something weird together. And that's why I said it was more weird and somewhat weak end. And like when I saw that end, I was like, well, that was weird. I didn't come out satisfied with the end. Like some of his other books, you come out satisfied. That one, I was like, oh, it just felt weak. And, I'm not the only person that felt that. There's people online, some people loved it, but I saw some other people felt the same thing about the ending as I did, where it was like, what? That was weird. So that's why, overall, I just thought this was a pretty weak book. And the book, is The Girl Who Cried Monster. But it kept reminding me of the book, or the story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf. And, that is the story of, I think it was written a long time ago, even possibly the 1800s, but about a boy who keeps talking about wolves and they're fake, and the whole town doesn't believe him, to where when a wolf really comes, the town doesn't believe him. And that's why it just reminded me of that, and it was just way too similar to that. Like, R.L. Stine normally comes up with his own cool story plots. This one, it was almost like, he almost copied that exactly. But, he definitely had a much different aspect in terms of her having to prove the monster aspect. And a monster is very different than a wolf. And, there's things like that. And stuff that Lucy sees, it definitely is different. But it just kept reminding me too much of that. To where overall, I just didn't enjoy the book. I really just did not enjoy this book. and I don't recommend the book. Some people online love the book, but it just wasn't for me. But there was, I thought there was almost like a split. People either loved it or did not like it at all. And I'm on the side that did not like it. So I'm going to give it my official rating right now. So for Goosebumps, I always rate it as either an A, B, C, D, or an F. For The Girl Who Cried Monster, I'm going to give this one an F because I just thought that this was a very weak book. It was very repetitive, and there was almost nothing good about the book to me. Like, there was very few good moments where I was like, oh, that was really cool. And I also said it had a weak end to where that's why I'm giving this book an F. I really do not recommend it. Again, there's some people who do, but if you guys have any comments or questions, please post it in the comment section below. I hope you guys click the subscribe button, as I always upload multiple different types of book reviews. But thank you for watching my book review today. This is Mr. V. Go enjoy reading.